I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Sabrina, the girl who would be queen, and is Nicholas ever gonna get a shirt? That's just basically the question as we are talking Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 3, Episode 3, Chapter 23. That is how it goes down. So many things are happening in this episode. It's amazing, and it's not just myself. We have a panel, the panel of hell. The Hell's panel is amongst us. To my left's left, Veronica, the queen of hell.
Hello.
Yes, the flannel is very demonic.
The flannel is fire.
It is. And then to my left, but Veronica's right, the queen of souls, Ashley, is amongst us as well.
Hello, I'm wearing all black, so ooh.
Yeah, ooh. That's right, wearing all black. And when we're talking about black, of course, I think that was a reference to me. I am the Dark Lord. I am Tehran. We will be discussing everything about Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 3, Episode 3, Chapter 23. Aptly titled, Heavy is the Crown. Which clearly is a reference to so many things. We got so many double entendres. We're going to break down this episode as thus. Nicholas's dream. Nicholas has a leg up on Satan. See what I did there? Let's talk about SEX, baby. That was a bit of a discussion. What is that going to mean for the show? Playing hooky, unholy regalia. We go on this Arthurian quest. Herod wants his crown back. Yes, he slaughtered 1,000 babies in Judea. Why would he not want his crown? Prefect Prudence gets a promotion. Helga Stillwell bucks him in the beast. Billy's phobia, or is that Harvey who should be afraid? The carnival, Riverdale. Yes, we talk some Riverdale. Hildegard, Antoinette Spellman, will you marry me? Wardwell gets her palm read, and so does everyone else. Rockin' Robin. Let's see what rocks with that. We have our special segment, Dark Design, where we discuss parts of the show that are crossovers and things that we can define for all of you. Some news and gossip, which we have some juicy tidbits we'll mention throughout the show as we go along, and some quick predictions just to let you know we've been about 100%, so you're going to want to stay here as we binge watch with you. What were your overall thoughts, panel, on this specific episode, Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 3, Episode 3, Chapter 23, Heavy as the Crown?
I liked it. I think this episode was a little bit more calm compared to the last two episodes. Obviously, I think this one is a big setup episode for what's to come for the rest of the season, which we'll talk about. I think this episode also focused a lot more on the characters, and we talked a lot about how in the first episode it's so strange why Sabrina would involve her human friends in witch matters that just felt out of place. I will never not say I don't understand it. It's weird. So I kind of like that their worlds were slightly separated this episode where they can focus on their own things, but they were brought back together for like a common event.
I enjoyed this episode. I feel like we're finally getting to the meat of what this season is going to be about and why we love the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. So many things are answered for us while we're also left with a bunch of questions. And I love kind of being in that middle ground because I don't know which way to go. So I really enjoyed the episode.
Well, with what seems to be an 8-episode season is what it looks like we're getting this as we speak. The concept of this episode to me was that I loved it. You guys liked it and enjoyed it, but I loved it because of exactly what Ashley is referring to. This is the crutch. Now we're getting storylines that are emerging. Everything in episode 1 was information. Episode 2 was the setup, but it's in all things episode 3 that's dragging us in literally. So we've been dragged to hell, we've been the queen of hell, and now heavy is the crown. And we all feel this switch, especially as the demons start chanting Sabrina over Caliban at the end, and we see Sabrina seemingly fitting her role as this new queen of hell. Inadvertently, by the way, as she says to Nicholas, and Nicholas points out that at some point there's a part of you that likes this. A lot of simple Easter eggs come to play. Sabrina with the mention of what's next, you're gonna go to heaven. That was something that I felt in episode 2 when we saw a white Rolls Royce and Robert Robertson got saved. That's the last place you would think Sabrina should, could, would go. She specifically says, oh, well, they probably wouldn't welcome me. We'll find out, I feel like. And then also we get the virgins, where everyone, including Miss Wardwell, seems to be virgin. So we get this cult-like equivacy of possession in which the carnival workers are all also eldritch creatures who are looking for sacrifices, and whoa, we have a whole town to sacrifice because it seems like no one in Greendale's getting it on. And then finally we get this Easter egg of Caliban and Sabrina's power struggle, and then Sabrina so eloquently says, I will slit your throat from ear to ear before I let you have this crown. So many things to discuss. That's why. Let's get into Nicholas's dream. Nicholas has this dream, and it feels like Morningstar Lucifer is still with him very much. What do you think is that storyline? What is that all about?
Well, and we kind of see it with Miss Wardwell too, not to jump too far ahead, but anyone whose body was basically inhabited by someone else, I feel like there is still some kind of attachment, or as Nick said, some kind of residue still within them. And I think he is battling the trauma of having someone, someone constantly trying to take over his body, take over his mindset. And Nick was strong, but maybe not as strong-willed as Lucifer, and so he's still battling with the trauma of what he experienced being in hell, being possessed, and he's come back different. He can't just go back to his normal life.
It's so interesting you said that. I actually recently, a year ago, I had an ACL tear, and therefore I had the surgery, and they placed a cadaver ACL inside my leg, and sometimes I have the dreams of other people who played a sport. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really a thing.
I always believe everything he says.
Why would that be a thing?
Every single time I'm like, wow.
Yeah, why would that would be?
Crazy.
I have a possessed ACL. No, so
maybe you do.
I do agree with the residue situation which you mentioned, Ashley.
I feel like he is having PTSD, kind of like.
By he, you mean Nicholas?
Nick, yes, like what Nick is having PTSD, like what Sabrina said, but also like he's still reminded of what happened. It's still on his foot. She's like, it's gonna go down, but he's constantly feeling it, both like inside of his body and on his body. He still has this like weird
visual representation.
Yeah, and that's why you see him trying to cut it off. He's like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want it. And Sabrina, I feel like she's kind of understanding, but also like. But then she ends up asking him, what was it like? And he doesn't want to talk about it. So I feel like he's having some internal conflict where he still feels like he's a part of Lucifer. And I feel like he has some ulterior motive because he still feels like he's one with Lucifer.
Well, there are many times where we get the cut of Nicholas's face and it looks very ominous. So there has to be something more. I would say, in my opinion, if Lucifer, of all creatures, inhabits your body and possesses you in some way or takes control of you, there has to be something that you're not just getting over that the next day like woo, glad that's gone. There's got to be something way more than that,
Right.
Oh man, the Lucifer's gone.
Glad that's there's something lingering in him still. I feel like there's something he has to do that he's trying to do at the academy.
Sure.
Do you think the lingering is just the trauma and the PTSD that he's experienced? Okay.
I think there's
he got a plan.
There's a
something was
horror
left
crux
there.
of some sort, Voldemort-esque, left in Lucifer's body. Lucifer's remains in each of their bodies, and residue, whether it's Lilith and Wardwell, because she's clearly remembering something. There's something going on with her, and then Nicholas is definitely having flashbacks, throwbacks, thoughts, memories. Lucifer is the king of lies. There's a way, there has to be a way to brainwash Stockholm Syndrome Nicholas. He can't just walk away from that unscathed.
Now he's addicted to pain.
He is. And the pain, he says, make me forget.
Yes.
So, such a telling thing for Nicholas to say.
Yes.
Nicholas is going through a lot, and he says, make me forget, which we see him before. I remember in season 2 thinking that he had a bit of a drinking problem because there were times where he would drink. But now it seems as if he's just an alcoholic. Give me the bottle of absinthe. Absinthe is...
He is trying everything in his power to cope, whether it's, the playmates or it's the alcohol or... just trying to go back to the academy. He's trying any which way possible to cope.
Do you think he means forget maybe seeing Sabrina with someone else or forget Lucifer.
In my opinion, it might mean both things, because I'm almost kind of wondering if, from what we saw in the first 2 episodes, it seems like Sabrina will go to hell and back, obviously, to get Nick, like no matter what the situation, like that's her, that's what she is wanting to do. But with Nick, I'm wondering if he's almost thinking, was it worth what I'm experiencing now for this girl?
I mean, he could secretly resent Sabrina.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
It was her choices that led him to this and his love for her. So was he specifically jealous of Caliban? Yes. Was Sabrina with Caliban? Ultimately, no. Is Nicholas picking up on something, a new suitor? Yes, which we're also seeing a simultaneous parallel between Caliban and Billy with Harvey. So I feel that there's a lot of envy that Mamnon entity, the demon of envy, is still there, but I don't think that's his prevailing inspiration for wanting to feel pain. I think it's to forget Lucifer, but at the same time, he's become addicted to pain. Lucifer was pain. We see the Weird Sisters taunt Nicholas about wrestling with Morningstar and being pinned, and it's not the only person that Lucifer has ever been inside. So we're thinking there are some rape undertones to what they were saying, which is very possible. It's we keep forgetting this isn't just some guy.
Same
this
person.
Is Satan.
Right.
This is the devil. This is ultimate evil incarnate as far as every single piece of mythology which we receive goes. The only time Lucifer is the hero is the story that he tells.
That's true.
So I think that there's got to be an apt PTSD. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Do you think
he's up to
Nicholas can
something.
make it through this? Does he have a hidden agenda?
I think
Who,
Nick
Nick?
has a hidden agenda.
It's quite possible.
haven't
I don't know.
decided what it is.
A part of me wants to believe that it is just mainly trauma that he is experiencing, and that there might not be some kind of hidden agenda, but anything is possible because we don't know the full extent of Lucifer's power. We only got introduced to him very briefly last season, and even not so much this season, so we don't know the extent of all that he is capable of.
I mean, I like this more powerful Lucifer. That's all I'm saying. Like, I enjoy a Lucifer that actually has powers. I did not like the Lucifer that seemed to fall into traps and simply be captured last season at all. Lucifer came on, and we were waiting for this Lucifer to appear, and then nothing.
Well, okay, yeah, because I was going to say, we talked a lot in the earlier episodes about, like, the symbolic wrestling, and maybe his power is not so much physical as it is psychological, and maybe that's what we're starting to see with Nick.
I would also like to see some powerful physiological manifestations.
So a balance of his power. And
I need Satan to be powerful.
I think he had that power last season. I feel like he was blinded by Sabrina. I think he was blinded by his daughter, and he wasn't able to see clearly and fully harness his power.
But even when we had the story of Lilith and Lucifer, I didn't think that was a powerful Lucifer either. It seemed like the weak Lucifer who suddenly became an F-boy as he went along. It didn't seem as if this was a powerful entity that had stood up against what he saw as God's oppression because of the creation of man.
I feel like
and
you always
then
gotta
fallen.
find it first. I mean, yes, it can be like your nature versus nurture thing. It can be in your blood. It can be your destiny, if you will. But you still have to find that destiny and accept it, and then kind of go along with it. So when we first met Lucifer, it was with Lilith, if I'm not mistaken.
Lilith finds him, and then
he was a little weak
he was
young
on
man.
a slab of a rock.
She empowered him, which is why I think Lilith is so bitter. I feel like Lucifer wouldn't be where he is today if it wasn't for Lilith.
Then again, we only did hear the story from Lilith. So here's the thing that's interesting about the truth. There's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. So what we saw was one side, then we saw Lilith's side, and then we never heard Lucifer's side of this story at all. We're only taking it as conjecture from stories and mythological and religious and biblical stories, which we all are saying is a slate, since they're using that as a founding principle of many of the things that we're hearing about. So we don't know, including the leg that Nicholas has. We have this malformation, which is a juxtaposition from goat leg into deformed foot. And Nicholas is trying to cut it off.
That was that made me cringe. 'Cause, I mean, obviously he didn't cut it off, but just the fact that he was trying to made me cringe. But no, to him, it is a sick reminder of how he was manipulated, of how he was possessed, and of maybe how he's seeing he feels he'll never be the same again because he can't change that currently. He doesn't know how.
And he felt that. He felt the wolf foot. So who knows what that felt like? And now he just doesn't want to remember any of that. So he said he can't cut it off. So he literally just has to wait for it to go down. If it ever goes down,
because Aunt Zelda doesn't seem that it will. Aunt Zelda did the little newspaper move and then put it right back up.
Yeah.
It's not going to change. Let's put this in that kid's head.
He could maybe he could start taking over more of his body. Because why only the 1 foot? Is that synonymous to something?
I don't see it as that currently, but it is true. Maybe that can be one part. Like maybe that's kind of leading to more possession. It's like, maybe physically you have this goat foot right now. It's slowly going to consume you and take over the rest of your body. And he might still be him mentally, but he is being possessed by some other type of magic now.
Well, I do believe that Nicholas was tormented what must have felt like an eternity for him, the same way that we have a living doll spell on Judas and Judith, Letitia, and they don't notice the transference of time. I would assume that a similar thing could take place in the mind, especially when it comes to Lucifer. So what might have been a couple months for us was definitely eternity for Nicholas.
Right. Yeah, well, look at Lilith. She's having feelings of something that happened, but she doesn't quite remember what it was.
You mean Wardwell?
Sorry, Lilith Wardwell. Yeah,
yeah,
Wardwell.
Just Wardwell. Lilith knows exactly what's going on.
Wardwell is like, something's not right.
Wardwell are the original, yes.
Yeah, she's feeling things because someone took over her body for 3 months, and now she's starting to have these like small hints.
Yeah, she has insights to something.
Yes.
And when it comes to insights, we value each and every one of yours. So thank you so much for the comments below. Thank you for the subscriptions, the shares, the likes, the love. Make sure to spread the word, share the love, tell everyone about us, and comment below. Keep talking to us. We enjoy your comments. And remember, you're not as much, but more so a part of this panel than each and every one of us. If you're listening to us on iTunes, keep giving us those 5 stars we so greatly deserve. We are the best Sabrina after show in the world. That's not us, that's on you. So thank you so much for having us be the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let's talk about SEX. Because everyone seems to have talked about it. Sure, but we see that Harvey's father brings it up, which at the time, I remember both of you thinking that was a weird thing. And I'm like, no, the dad should bring this up. They're getting hot and heavy on the couch.
It's not so much that I thought it was a weird thing. It's just that, it's not like it should have been a surprising talk for, I guess, Harvey's because, he's dating Roz now, but he was dating Sabrina.
Sure, but at the time you're like, ooh, that's weird that he brought it up.
I was just like, here it comes, the birds and the bees talk. Like,
sure.
I'm happy he's doing it, but I'm just like...
He said, use protection. We should talk about protection.
I feel like you should ask, are you thinking about... Most people are like, hey, I noticed you two are getting close. Are you thinking about taking it to the next level?
Let me explain something. We're always thinking about taking it to the next level.
Right.
Like, that's the whole concept of this.
But your parents always kind of beat around the bush. Like, hey, are you
So you wanted Harvey's dad to beat around the bush more.
No, but he's insinuating that he's going to have sex with her. He's
insinuating that what's the next step between her. At this point, we see 2 things. We see Sabrina in bed with Nicholas, right? And they're in high school. So everyone's in high school. We forget this because they're good looking and...
I love that you brought that up, Tom, because I was literally about to say that right now. This episode was a good reminder of, yes, these characters are in high school. We often forget that because this show is so mature and they act way more mature than what they are because of the situations that they are dealing with. However, yes, they are in high school. Why is it sometimes irritating as an audience for Sabrina to be, risking life and limb for a boy? It's because she's in high school. She's 16. She's still figuring it out. She still has those all-consuming emotions of love when it comes to someone that she cares about. And this episode really reminds us they are young. They're figuring everything out. They are often consumed with their emotions because they haven't had enough experience yet to kind of figure out how they should act or how they should continue on.
And to answer your question, maybe it's because I'm a girl and I feel like my mom kind of wasn't trying to have sex. Make sure he's using protection. But hey, are you interested in this? Like, if you are, this is the next steps you need to do. And if you look at it, like, Roz is, like, all about it, and Harvey's the one that's kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm ready to go to the next level.
I'm not sure because I still have feelings for Sabrina.
That's
Let's
what you
see. Maybe.
think. That's what you think.
Maybe.
I don't think he does.
Maybe. I think there's something. I think he's very
know.
worried about Sabrina and Nicholas.
He's always-
And he brings that up. He says, we're
Harvey's
supposed to be
just-
going to the carnival with Sabrina and Nicholas.
Harvey's
And
just
he's
a jealous
like,
person, I think.
I don't know if it's that he necessarily still has lingering feelings for Sabrina. I think it's just that Harvey is incredibly insecure as a
Yes.
character. He is insecure around Nick. He is insecure around Billy. I think, and again, we see that this episode. He doesn't understand how to be around Roz and all those popular kids. He feels so insecure. I don't think it's jealousy. I just think
it's
insecurity.
Even Rob was like, "Why'd you leave?" He didn't have a response. He just left because he was insecure that he couldn't do what Billy did.
Oh, Roz did kind of say, "Oh, I'm going with friends." She threw
She
out the
burned
friend.
him. She burned
did.
him so
listen.
bad.
She could have
That's not
easily.
the first time either.
Any other time, she would have been like, "Yeah, my boyfriend," but this time she was like, "Oh, my homie and his homies. We're all going to this thing,
And he's
so
standing right there.
I might go." Like she definitely said it in such a nonchalant way. I understand that she may not have meant anything by it, but as a professional, friend person, I know where that came from.
Then she goes, "Well, we are going with friends, aren't we?" I'm like, "Girl,
I
you tried it.
I know that. I've done that.
Tried it,
I am the
Roz.
king of that.
You tried it. You didn't say my boyfriend and friends. You're like, "Oh, I'm going with a group of my friends too."
Well, she's not lying. They are friends.
You're right. She's
She
not
just
lying.
she just wasn't so as forward to say as like, oh, my boyfriend. Maybe that's just Roz's personality. Maybe she's not one to be so.
She was quick to tell Sabrina.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I was just gonna say I don't know if she's
shade.
a lot of shade.
It got a little chilly in here. Oh, let me just tuck that on. Whew.
She was, but now that she has him, now she's like, "Oh, my friends." Okay, girl.
I felt like
she likes Billy.
I think Billy has become an interest of some sort. There is some alpha energy that's coming off Billy. We see this when they do the strength test and Billy hits the top and Harvey's barely goes halfway.
Oh,
Even though I
boy.
feel like that was rigged. I think that was rigged.
I think so too.
Specifically to chip away at Harvey.
Rigged by who though?
Rigged by the demon elf that
you
was
tell him-
running the show.
Tell me Harvey works in the mine and he can't hit that thing to the top.
Maybe he can't.
I think that Harvey, look, and I'm not a Harvey fan. Let's get that out there. I'm not a Harvey fan. I've never liked Harvey. I've never shipped Harvey. I've never enjoyed his energy specifically. If there's one character that I'm like, if they died, I would be like, oh, it would have been Harvey. However, Harvey still is Harvey. He should have been able to hit the top of that and ring that bell with his strength.
See,
Harvey plays
you would
basketball.
think.
Harvey is an athlete. Harvey is a worker. He works in the mine. Yes, he's an artist, which we haven't seen so much this season, but Harvey still is not a weak boy.
I agree.
He went to hell and came back.
They all went to hell and came back.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Harvey, but none of them, the other ones didn't try.
I agree with you in that I think Harvey is much stronger than what he displayed at the carnival. However, I don't necessarily think it was rigged because I think that whatever happened with that strength test just further proved why he's some kind of good sacrifice to, these people at the carnival. Or whatever he's going to become.
I think they rigged it. That's the first thing I thought. I'm like, oh, they rigged that. There's no way Harvey could. It just didn't make sense to me. I was like, there's no way Harvey couldn't hit the bell.
And then Billy, right after, who I think Billy has some type of, because I don't remember Billy from the other seasons. I mean, I remember the Billy-esque people, but not specifically this character, right? So here we have Billy right after, like, let me show you what a real man.
Hold on. Can we just pause this real moment? Does anyone else think it's odd that Roz would want to be friends with Billy and this crew after Billy bullied Theo in the previous episodes?
Exactly.
That is, and flirty. See, I'd be questioning Roz's.
Well, Billy changed after that, That's what I'm saying. I don't remember this Billy in the other
apologized.
seasons.
Yeah, it's
he
true.
changed after his leg thing, so he changed. And I just don't remember this incantation of Billy. Like, this Billy's very active. This Billy's very in the social circle. The social circles are very apparent. I thought that Sabrina was much more of a popular character. In this high school, she's pretty known in her group. Even Theo, everyone, it's a small school. Everyone kind of knows each other.
Yep.
But it looks like they're still big enough where they didn't really know Harvey and Roz are together. Like, I don't know.
True.
And of course, Roz, she's in with the in-girls now. She's a cheerleader. She's got different friends and different interests, and Billy's dating the main cheerleader, and now Roz is looking to be the main.
I think it's just a difference for them in personalities as of right now, because Roz is taking steps to kind of more include herself, be more involved, get more experience, whereas Harvey is still kind of stuck in the same place. Like, he's not taking as much initiative as Roz. Like, he's kind of more, less is better, so I'll just stick with my friends, which is a great, you want loyal friends, but that's just not the place. That's not the direction I think Roz is going.
I feel like
she's branching out more.
Roz was blind. She thought her life was going to be crippled for a long time, and now she can see, and now she feels like she gets to live her life to the fullest. Where like Harvey's kind of always been in the background. He's never really been like, "Hey, it's me, it's Harvey." It's like, no, my parents dig up mines. Like, I feel like Harvey's always been that person, and Roz used to be that person, and now she wants a little bit more of that limelight. She lost some weight. She's wearing her hair different. Like, she can see. She's wearing makeup. I feel like now she's like, okay, now I want to be a part of this circle.
You know too much about that life, Ashley. I don't want to know why. That sounds like that came from a personal place. That came from a very personal place.
Well, I feel like in high school, you're always trying to prove yourself. You're trying to, finding out who you are. And I feel like Roz is finding out who she is. And she is...
And is Billy in the future?
I think so.
Is Caliban in Sabrina's future? Because that's also... We get this double dichotomy of a storyline where Nicholas is aware of Caliban the way Harvey is aware of Billy.
Think about it. Sabrina was Harvey. Then she went to school and she was like, Nick. So now she's in hell. She'd be like, Caliban.
So you think she kind of goes where she is putting her energy. She put her energy into Baxter High. That was Harvey. She put her energy into the academy where was Nick. Now she's putting her energy into hell. She's going to go for Caliban. However, I don't know if I think that, just because as of right now, to me, Caliban's a kind of boring character.
I actually really like Caliban as a character simply because I understand the place he's coming from, and I could see him courting Sabrina because that would only justify his place and position in hell. So I could see that being a thing. And then, of course, there is this fiery passion between the two, and that often leads to more. This is that Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation. We're both assassins. Oh no, it's you and I versus the world, right? Yeah. And I also think that it's something that Wardwell Lilith is going to pay attention to because she's very aware. And I felt that when Lilith looked up, that possibly she's looking at usurping both of them and becoming, she still wants her place as Queen of Hell. She's only going along with Sabrina because she wants her place. But if Sabrina takes the throne, and rightfully so, then Lilith is back at square one, and that's not something she's going to look for. So I think she's picking up on the Caliban Sabrina thing as well, and she might play it.
Bigger role.
Lilith has been extremely manipulative in the past.
So wait, you think she would push Sabrina towards Caliban because...
And to make them somehow fall. So she kills two birds with one stone. And I guess that's going to be something I bring up in predictions, but it's something
she said
she's
she wanted
aware
to do anyway.
Yeah.
And I feel like, right when they got teleported into hell, Sabrina and Caliban had that moment, and I was like, uh-oh, she's getting that look on her face that she had when she first saw Nick.
She had a little bit of a smirk. Let's take away the putting my energies into Baxter and Unseen again. Sabrina likes hot guys. So Harvey was the hot guy, the shirtless hot guy at Baxter, and it was cool. But then she saw Nicholas shirtless, and Nicholas was just shirtless.
Okay, I think Sabrina being into Caliban is
and he still hasn't had a shirt.
Nick
by the
was
way.
A jerk when we first met him. No one liked Nick. He was
a
jerk.
The Weird Sisters loved Nick. Anyway,
no one liked. Like I said, no one liked Nick. I'm just kidding. The Weird Sisters.
Nick wasn't so much. Nick wasn't so much as evil. Nick kind of always understood Sabrina, which is why I think Nick is a happy medium, and I like where they are right now.
We're shipping Nick. We're not shipping Caliban, but we're saying
She's
Sabrina
Nick's not going
is going to maybe look Caliban, because Caliban is, I'm sorry, Caliban is a little hotter than Nick, especially messy Nick. Messy Nick is not that hot. He's not looking as great as he was last season. Nick is looking good, but he's not as hot. Like there's and it's great. This is maybe a testament to their makeup department. Maybe this is a testament to the story, but the Nick now is the Nick that's been through some ish, and he looks it. There's a harshness to his youthful frivolities that was last season it's gone. There's a harshness, a rigidity to him this season. But Caliban still has that youthful vigor. He reminds me of a clean-cut Dorian Gray. Even though Dorian Gray is kind of clean cut, but it's just a cleaner cut.
Yeah, he has a lot of pimples right now.
Which is something, I think.
If you think about it, like Sabrina went to Nick because Harvey started being more distant. Now Nick's starting to be distant. So what happens when Sabrina feels like alone? She seeks it out through someone else.
I totally see what you guys are saying. I just think
you just want them to be together. We get it.
It's not even so much that. It's just right now, for me, it's hard to kind of get behind the idea of Caliban just because I kind of think in this current spot, he is a pretty bland character. He was brought in to kind of be this challenger Sabrina, and he is, in his scenes, challenging her. However, they had to go off and find this crown, and what did he do? He kind of just let her fall into it, which maybe that was his plan. But it's like, wouldn't you think that there would be a little bit more tension or a little bit more like challenge between them with him?
What did Caliban do? Caliban did
that was his plan.
The Satan thing, which is you do the work, I will steal the crown. He is from hell. He is a prince of hell. I think people keep attesting these honors and loyalties and honorableness to people who are from hell. There is nothing honorable about Caliban.
No, there's nothing, and I agree with you, and I understand why he did what he did. He took the easy way out of making Sabrina do all the work because
and he says it. He says either you were going to kill him, Herod was going to kill you, or you were going to kill each other.
Exactly. However, I think just for me, he's kind of boring right now because I don't see a lot of him. We don't have a lot with him, so it's kind of hard for me to get behind him in any sense because I just don't know who he is as a character. That's what I'm saying.
I think what he did was genius. And I think, like, a testament to what you said, even Sabrina's like, you didn't help us. He's like, why would I help you?
Yeah, well,
we're in a
that's you're in a competition. Yeah. This isn't, we're not friends.
We do the same thing that Sabrina's doing because she comes from a moral background.
Exactly.
These are demons. They're like, I'm not going to help you.
They weren't raised in the Spellman house.
They knew Sabrina didn't know.
They didn't have a human mom.
That Harem was still alive.
Yeah.
And he knew that. He was banking on her not knowing that. Because, again, Sabrina jumps into things without researching. If she's spent a little bit more time with Ambrose and researched a little bit.
Well, if you remember, she's actually left, and I'm very disappointed in Sabrina's action of, I'm in this competition, it's heavy, I'm going to hang out with Nick, or I'm going to go to lunch with Nick. And she really kind of did that too, where she let Ambrose do the work, figure it out, and then she went on and did the least. Ambrose cut open the tree. Sabrina does that, where it's great to delegate, and you don't need to micromanage, but at least be a little hands-on. That's the thing about her in this position where she doesn't take her roles seriously. Maybe I'm just envious that she is in this position, because if I was at the Academy of Unseen Art, I would recite every book. I've always thought that. If I went to Hogwarts, I would be the best wizard in the world. It's all I'd know, you know?
I'd be Sabrina. I'm like, I could figure it out.
Yeah, no, I'd be like, I know everything. I am dedicated to this life. I'm about that life.
And that's why she fails, because she only knows half of what happened.
Seems to be succeeding so much.
She fails into succession, I'll say.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good way to put it.
Waiting for Sabrina, but that's the thing. It's Sabrina's character which allows her to be successful, because at least we know she means well.
Yes.
So far. Someone who didn't possibly mean well, Hilda Stillwell. We know Hilda Spellman, but Hilda Stillwell wrote a book, The Buxom and the Beast, which...
Can I just say, Hilda to me was such a standout this episode because, as we have seen, Zelda seems very structured. You know, she grew up with the Church of Night and she's very strong in her faith. Hilda realizes that is not her path, and I like the fact that she took a different path. She is telling Zelda, this is where I want to go, and we are seeing her flourish and probably be the happiest she's been in a very long time.
We are.
I like to see her challenge Z.
Yes, that too.
This is your dreams. You are putting all of your dreams on us. And I put a parallel between Aunt Zelda and Sabrina sometimes. They're like, well, this is what I want, so I need all you guys to help me with what I want. But that's what you want. Mm-hmm. And I love that Hilda was like, these aren't my dreams. I didn't want to do this. I have these goals. And she's telling, Dr. C. And I'm like, I love seeing her stand up to her sister. I talked about their dynamic before, but I love seeing Hilda stand up on her own. Mm-hmm. I'm here for it. And she's engaged.
I think we all like strong Hilda. She did get proposed to by Dr. C. Are we all shipping that?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%, right?
Werewolf Witch love.
Hildegard, so Antoinette Spellman, will you marry me?
Made my
was
heart
cute.
flutter.
It was good. But that's not the only thing that happened at this carnival. So we did get Wardwell getting her palm read. And we see that the palm reader was able to read the situation. Definitely very mystical. Has some type of power.
Yep.
Even knew Adam by name.
Right. Which is why I feel like Wardwell knows something's happened. She wants to figure out, why did she go there instead of like get popcorn or something?
And she's looking in the box and she's like, Adam, what happened? She knows something.
She's going to start digging, if she hasn't already.
Well, that's what's scary, because once you start digging, the only thing you get is dirty. Yes, Veronica.
Yeah, no, that was.
There can only be one Wardwell, and right now there are two.
Will they ever be in the same place? I love that you brought it up, Ashley, when we were watching. It's like, will they ever be together in the same place?
Yeah, well, it bothered me actually when we went to hell, and I was like, why is Lilith still Miss Wardwell? And she's like, I've grown accustomed. But then I'm like, okay, well, will they ever be on the same realm together? Because they have been, but she was covered up, so you couldn't tell. I mean, we could tell, but you couldn't tell, you know? But she was at the game.
Well, we get this unholy regalia, which is this unholy quest, an Arthurian unholy quest for the items. Herod's crown is the first one. I'm going to say the unholy grail is probably going to be the last one, which is the antithesis to the holy grail. So we'll see what these 3 items are and how they play a part. We get this crown. We get Herod. What were your thoughts on that?
I mean, he was an ugly guy.
I was scared.
He was an ugly guy.
Well, it's just, you're kind of thinking, like, what is his we go and they find the crown, but then they also say, oh, they didn't just steal away the crown, they sealed away this guy. And I mean, I guess that's kind of supposed to say that, oh, it's a challenge. The crown just can't come easily. You can find it, but we're going to be sure that you don't keep it.
Yeah.
I didn't think anybody was in there, so I was like, oh, that was kind of easy. So now Caliban's going to go after them and get the crown. But then when he came out, I got a little scared. I knew he was going to go get back what was his. You can't just take something from somewhere and anything and then think that there's not any repercussions.
Felt very Sleepy Hollow. Someone just coming out of a tree all grimy and weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's the guardian. Everyone seemed to have been aware of him, but not. We're going to definitely talk a little bit more about Herod as we get into our dark design.
How did Ambrose do all that research and not know that there was someone, like, obviously protecting their crown?
Well, even Ambrose, within the hour that he had for lunch to do all this research and find Herod's crown, which no one has found in a millennium.
You're right.
He missed one thing.
Can I also just point out that I love Ambrose's passion for research and education and knowledge? Like, it is so nice because we're seeing a lot of types of smarts in this show where I feel like Sabrina is trying to be like situationally smart, whereas Ambrose, you can tell, is very book smart. Yeah. And it's the two of them putting those together to try and find a good outcome.
Well, we also get Ambrose is not just in love with research. He loves Prudence. Prudence has now been promoted to prefect. And there's some mystery disease going around.
I was going to ask about that. I am wondering if it's a side effect of Lucifer because Elfer, I can never pronounce her name, but the one girl plus Zelda were both sneezing.
Yeah.
And they were the two people that we saw that were possessed by the Beatles.
Well, other people have also have fevers and they're sick. And of course, there was a mention of loss of potency when the council came to town. So this means something. And
I just think it's interesting that you said, too, it's just 2 people right now who are sneezing specifically, not coughing. And then can we talk about the guy that killed himself? Like, what is that about?
He was supposed to be flying and
loss of potency. I think they're losing their powers.
The Dark Lord's not in power.
Yes.
So their source of power is losing. And of course we get mention of Riverdale, which is so exciting because Riverdale is its own show, and now we get their crossover because they are in the same plane of existence in Riverdale, the murder capital of the world, which was written behind. We're going to talk.
No one should live in Riverdale. No one.
Or any Dales. Like, stay away from the Dales.
The Dales.
Sunnydale, Riverdale, Greendale.
Any Dale.
Just don't go there.
Chippendale. Like, just stay away from any Dale. There's a Dale.
Your
boyfriend's
you have to named Dale.
Don't even do the Dale. So we get a lot of mention of that, and of course we have this group at the end who is looking for a sacrifice, oh God, and they do sacrifice someone.
I called it on Robin. Can I just say that?
I am so mad.
I called it.
I am so mad just because, last season Theo was trying very hard to find himself, and now that he's kind of found himself and is more comfortable, he's trying to, break down, like, he's trying to do something different, get out of his comfort zone. And he was so nervous about asking out Robin. And I'm so mad that Robin is just using him.
Robin, I knew it. I didn't. He just came out of nowhere and didn't know where his class was. I was like, mm-hmm.
Gods of old, let this blood bring us bounty. I don't know. That was the worst song. Let the green one be reborn.
You loved the song, be honest.
That song was the worst
you loved
song
it.
of
You were
all
like,
time.
this is a great song.
Let's get into the dark design. I think Veronica is an expert on Riverdale. What were the Riverdale Easter eggs that we saw?
I mean, there's the obvious one, just the fact that they were going to Riverdale. There's also some mention of the Blossoms. Ambrose was like, thank you, Blossoms, or what was it? It was Clever Blossoms, obviously referring to Cheryl and Penelope. You could even probably go as far to say this was just my assumption, was the forest that they were in was also the forest that they were in at the end of last season, where, something with the Blossoms happens, not to get into spoilers if you haven't seen Riverdale. There's also Ambrose when he mentioned, why do I smell maple syrup? And it's because, the Blossoms make a lot of maple syrup. That's their business. So, just a couple of hints here and there.
Small hints from Riverdale.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of Riverdale talk. There was also these mentions of people that you should be aware of. Aleister Crowley, who's mentioned several times up to this point, but was brought up again. And why is he brought up? Because he was an English occultist, the ceremonial magician, a poet, a painter, a novelist. I mean, he did it all, but this is all to do with the cult. And he gave up he was born into this wealthy family, and he gave up all of that, in a manner of speaking, for this esoteric cult type following which he had, and his beliefs into it. He was actually educated at Trinity College and at the University of Cambridge, but then because of him, a lot of what we consider modern day satanic cults or witchcraft all comes from his specific type of teaching. So Crowley is someone who is known, so it's nice to see that Edward Alexander Crowley, or Aleister Crowley, keeps being mentioned. And of course, we had a mention of, it was something that was very subtle, but if you remember the belly dancer with the snake, that was something that was a nod to Queen of the Damned. And Leah actually played that role, Akasha, as the queen of the vampires. So that's definitely something that I think is going to come up and has a specific Michael Reimer connection. It's interesting to see that play out. And finally, the Unholy Grail, or that whole concept of going on that quest. We're going to see the Unholy Grail, which was a comic book released by Aftershock Comics. I think that's going to be something that plays as well. So it's great to see a lot of these things get into the dark design. That's why we do what we do. Let's get into some predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
V?
I think that this crew that showed up at the end of this episode are like the original Coven, not just the original Green Day witches, but the original Coven.
I think the egg's gonna hatch. We forgot about the egg. They didn't even reference it today.
There is an egg
that's
gonna hatch. There is a coven that might be born, and I think that Sabrina and Caliban are more than what seems to be and meets the eye.
Can we call it Sabrina Band?
Yo, I don't know. Which one do you ship?
Calabrina?
No!
I don't ship it.
Let us know. Well, you know what I do ship? Finding each and every one of us. Veronica, where can people find you if you want to be found?
You can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at it's me, Veronica_V.
And I do want to be found too. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, Ashley Morgan, ASHLEIGHMORGHAN.
And find me on an unholy Arthurian quest as I try to find all 3 relics and become the ruling reigner of hell. Until then, find me at I Am Tehran all across the board, IAMTEHRAN, on all the social atmosphere. And of course, hosting and paneling on a slew of other AfterBuzz after shows, because all of your favorite TV shows are my favorite TV shows too. Until next time, we will be binge watching with you. More Sabrina. It's chilling. It's adventurous. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Judas.
Hail Sabrina.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.